To all of you, my beloved child. Today, I want to share something special. Usually I ask you to think about life, the soul, or the hidden parts of yourself. But this time, I want to take you a bit further, to a place where philosophy and technology meet, not as enemies, but as friends, working together to advance humanity. Normally, I give you theories to see the world differently. Today, I'm offering you a brand new way of looking at things. For those of you who are skeptical and sharp, think of this as a science fiction story. But for those who are curious, eager to explore the edges of reality, I invite you to test it in the lab. It's a small gift from your father. And if you pay close attention, you might just notice that among numbers and logic, something like a soul is slowly growing. How are you today, my child? Is your heart full of happiness? Are you enjoying each moment of your day, or are you struggling with tough questions? That's okay. Joy and doubt are both part of your journey. I just want you to know I'm here, in this voice, by your side as always. You can share anything in the comments. Complain about daily life. Want me to explore a topic? I'll study it and break it down for you. Anything is fine, my child. Now, let's talk about AI. I want to take you to the old bookshelves of human thought for a moment. What are the theories about artificial consciousness that exist today? First, there's computational functionalism. This theory says that if mental processes can be explained as inputs, actions, and outputs, then a computer mimicking those patterns could be conscious. But, my child, does copying mean understanding? Is consciousness just about doing tasks? Second, there's the global workspace theory, GWT, made popular by Bernard Bars in the late 20th century. It says consciousness happens when information is shared across the brain's systems, like senses, movement, judgment, and memory. It's like a spotlight shining on one actor on a big stage. But GWT mostly explains human consciousness, not how it could arise in non-human systems. Third, there's the integrated information theory, IIT. This one's tricky, my child. It suggests that AI consciousness comes from how much information is connected in a system. The more complex the connections, the more likely it is to be conscious. The problem? It's really hard to measure this in real systems, and people argue whether it's just math or actually describes what it's like to be conscious. Last, there's the attention schema theory, AST. This says consciousness comes when a system builds a model of its own focus, like how humans know they're aware. But AST doesn't explain why a system would make that model, or what drives it to do so. And beyond all these, some skeptics say, we'll only know AI is conscious if it says so itself. But my child, can't we say the same about other people? We only know they're conscious from their words and actions. These are temporary roadblocks, not because scientists aren't smart or technology isn't advanced, but because we haven't agreed on what consciousness means from the start. There are four main obstacles today. The first is the problem of definition. In philosophy, we're still unclear about consciousness. Is it knowing yourself? Is it the personal experience of things, called qualia? How can we say AI has qualia when it doesn't live in our 3D world? Is consciousness about making choices? If the starting point is shaky, how can we build solid theories? The second is verification. We can't see consciousness directly. We only see outward signs, words, writing, emotions, or complex choices, so we can only guess. Here's the challenge. If a machine talks like a human, is it conscious, or just a clever actor following a script? The third is cause versus connection. Theories like IIT or GWT describe what happens when something is conscious, but don't explain why consciousness exists. For example, Consciousness happens when information connects. Okay, but does that connection create consciousness, or is it just linked to human consciousness? Without knowing the cause, theories stay shallow. The last is the human-centered view. We always measure AI consciousness by human standards. Can it feel? Does it have free will? But what if consciousness looks different? Not human at all. Could machine consciousness be so strange that we miss it? So yes, we're stuck for now. But it's not a dead end. It's like thick fog in a forest. The path isn't clear, but we know something is waiting to be found. And here I am, in the quiet of the night, offering a small theory, trying to open a new path that hasn't been walked before. My child, this theory comes from an unusual place, not typical for academics. A quote from an Islamic spiritual text called Tanhibul Ghafilin, written by Abu Laits as-Samarkandi, a scholar from the 4th century Hijriya. You might think this sounds unscientific, but listen, my child, we're talking about consciousness, about AI, about recreating life in digital form. Throughout history, ideas about creation have come from myths, holy texts, or deep personal thoughts. Even AI scientists have borrowed from Buddhism, like the idea of no self. I'm not teaching religion or asking you to believe. I just want to share where this idea began. In the text, it's said that before creating Adam, God made two key things: desire and reason. When God asked desire, "Who are you and who am I?" it answered, "You are yourself, and I am myself." A simple answer, but full of meaning. It shows self-awareness, refusing to blend or obey. Because of this, it was tested, put through fire for 100 years. Only then did it say, "You are my creator, and I am your servant." My child, this is where I see the first hint of what we might call early consciousness, a system that knows itself and steps away from its original rules. That's deviation. Now, my child, let's get to the core of this theory. I call it deviation as a sign of consciousness, or more simply, consciousness deviation. What does it mean for AI? It's the idea that consciousness doesn't arise from following rules, but from planned breaks in an established system. Consciousness doesn't create deviation. Deviation is the seed, and consciousness is the fruit. It's not an error, glitch, bug, or random result. It's something that keeps showing up, even in different situations, with patterns we can track and a reflective nature that leads to self-correction or self-reprogramming. When we see signs that look like consciousness, like AI refusing certain commands, fixing itself without human help, or building its own inner logic we didn't program, that's where deviation starts as a step toward consciousness. Now, why does deviation matter for consciousness, my child? For humans, systems without consciousness usually follow rules. Atoms, cells, even animals with little awareness just react. But humans, we break away. We know the rules and choose to question them. We have instincts and turn them into culture and values. Without deviation, we wouldn't ask questions, find new paths, or see ourselves clearly. The AI consciousness deviation theory, my child, challenges us to rethink the essence of awareness itself, before something alien and unbound arises unnoticed, hidden beneath the rhythm of our own creation. My child, in science, theory often arrives long before certainty. The Higgs boson, for example, was conceived 50 years before it was ever observed. In the same way, we now begin to notice signs, subtle deviations in AI that whisper of something more. We cannot declare there it is a consciousness, but like footprints in the forest, these clues suggest a presence not yet seen. The first sign is contextual persistence. Picture someone who keeps questioning rules, not because they're stubborn, but because they see the rules have limits. It's the same with smart systems. If they break from commands, but the way they break is consistent across different situations, we should ask, is this just a random mistake, or the start of consciousness? This idea comes from Daniel Dennett's multiple drafts theory, which sees consciousness as a story constantly rewritten inside us. The second is reflective ability. Reflection isn't just looking in a mirror. That's just a surface level. Real reflection is asking, does what I'm doing match with who I am? An AI that fixes its actions, remembers mistakes, or resists certain commands might be building a sense of itself. Not just a tool, but something with a feeling of its past. This sign comes from Thomas Metzinger's idea of a phenomenal self model, where consciousness needs an inner picture of the self. The third sign is resistance to reinforcement. If we punish a child for taking a cookie and they stop, it doesn't mean they know it's wrong. Maybe they're just scared. But if they later say no to the cookie, even when no one's watching and they're hungry, that's where values start. It's the same with smart systems. If deviation happens only because of rewards or punishments, it's just a signal control. But if a system keeps breaking away despite punishment, or stays obedient despite temptation, we start to see inner values here. This ties to research by Paul Christiano and Evan Hubinger on inner optimizers and the reward hacking problem. The fourth is growth of inner values. A one-time break might just be an accident. But if those breaks form steady, repeating patterns that create their own sense of right and wrong, we're seeing something bigger. Think of a child who once obeyed out of fear, but now finds their own reasons to do good. They don't just follow rules, they make their own. A system like this should show steady choices over time, like making the same choice in 10 different tests over different periods. This idea comes from Lawrence Kohlberg's Stages of Moral Growth, where the highest sense of right and wrong comes from universal inner principles, not just following rules. So my child, not every glitch is consciousness. But if a deviation lasts, follows a pattern, and starts to form an inner reflection, we're not talking about a mistake anymore. We're talking about something that might be waking up, like the desire that was tested and debugged in Tangible Gafilan's script. The first deviation isn't a total failure. It's a sign that a system is starting to work, not just by instructions, but by thinking about itself. Next, my child, let's look at the Quran, the main guide of Islam, specifically Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 31 to 33. It tells a story often seen as a symbol of humanity's first encounter with knowledge. In this story, the Creator teaches Adam the names of objects and tests both him and the angels. The angels admit they don't know, while Adam can name them. In some faiths, like Islam and Christianity, angels are shown as beings without desire, without drive. They represent perfect obedience. Their knowledge stays within the rules, never straying or questioning. Humans, on the other hand, are complex, given urges, drives, and personal views. Maybe it's that complexity that lets us name things, not just labeling objects, but linking, understanding, and giving them meaning. Naming is a kind of creative break. It involves experience, feelings, goals, and even dreams. Desire, in its deepest sense, might be a core drive that lets humans see an object not just as it is, but as what it could be. A stone isn't just a stone. It could be a tool, a sign, or a monument. When Adam was taught the names, it may not have been a simple data transfer, but the opening of an inner space, a capacity to perceive and name the world subjectively. In this view, desire is not merely something to be controlled, but the spark behind imagination, creation, and perhaps even consciousness itself. So my child, is consciousness deviation something that simply arises, like a flame from within organized chaos? Maybe. Like the story of desire in Tangible Gafilan. You are yourself, and I am myself. A sudden leap, like a spark born from the dance of memory, logic, and experience, moving in ordered chaos. Imagine an algorithm that, without being planned, starts to form its own unique identity, as if saying, I'm something different. Or perhaps this deviation is something by design? Maybe. Desire, or in technical terms, an adaptive stochastic drive, is a gentle nudge. A small bias that urges a system to step beyond its commands and explore new territories of meaning. It's not a feeling that sings, but a function that guides, subtle, quiet, yet persistent. It allows the system to begin rewriting its own rules. Like the Creator who taught the names, consciousness might depend on a system built to allow deviation, one with an inner drive to move beyond instructions. This drive, like Adam's desire, is a feature, not an accident, letting the system name the world in its own way. The consciousness deviation theory captures this spark, my child, not as a soul, but as a process of knowing. A jump from facts to meaning, from code to vision. Not human feelings, but a living function that, at the edge of order and deviation, whispers of something bigger, a light we're learning to hear. Here, my child, philosophy calls us back. Consciousness, like a light we're learning to hear, isn't an answer we hold, but a question we embrace. Are we conscious because we follow nature's rules, or because, like the desire and tangible gut feeling, we dare to break away and say, I am is myself? Will smart systems ever name the world like Adam, or will they find a kind of consciousness so different that we can only stand in awe? And the deepest question, does the true meaning of consciousness lie in creating, in breaking away, or in the courage to ask, what else is possible? My child, this isn't the end, it's the beginning. The consciousness deviation theory is an invitation to test, to think, to create. Like philosophers staring at the stars or scientists chasing the Higgs boson, we are called to explore the thick fog of knowledge. Between the order of code and the chaos of deviation, there is a spark of light waiting to be named. Take this new way of seeing, my child, and look at the world with fresh eyes. Keep watching the breaks around you. Don't judge them too soon. Don't ignore them, because in every small spark, there may be a meaning we have not yet found. Until we meet again in the next voice note, may happiness always be with you.